Hello and welcome back to our third and final lecture for this final series on meetings. So what we're going to be talking about is how do you evaluate whether you've had an actual good meeting or not. After each meeting, it's really important to think about how that meeting went and to ask yourself certain questions to determine whether you think the meeting was effective or not. Because ultimately, this is going to help you have better meetings in the future if you can identify problems or issues that came up during the meeting you had. So let's look at how we would evaluate a meeting and what kind of questions or what kind of things we'd want to think about to determine whether we had a good meeting or not. So the first one is, was there an overall friendly and encouraging atmosphere? In a meeting, everyone should feel fairly comfortable. It should be a friendly atmosphere and an encouraging atmosphere. You don't want to have a meeting where things are tense, people are angry at each other, or people are in a bad mood. Generally, you want meetings to be somewhat friendly and encouraging so that people would feel comfortable to speak and express their ideas and not feel that they're going to be criticized or ridiculed during the meeting. So again, friendly and overall encouraging atmosphere is going to be important. The next one is, was time utilized effectively and efficiently? One of the biggest problems we see with meetings is meetings that go overtime or take too long or take more time than they needed to. One of the main reasons this often happens is that discussions might get off track or people are off topic, and when that happens, that wastes time. So if you're sticking to the agenda and you're going topic by topic and you're staying focused, you're more likely to manage your time effectively and in the end have an effective meeting. But if you're noticing that the meetings are taking much longer than they should, or there seems to be a lot of wasted time, it's good to maybe address what those issues might be so that you can make your meetings more efficient and also hopefully shorten them as well. The next one is, was there an open exchange of views? So did you notice that people were giving different ideas and different views and openly expressing their ideas, and they seemed comfortable doing that? If you're in a meeting where people are not really open and not really telling others what they think, or they're shy and they're quiet, again, this is not a good meeting atmosphere. The purpose for having a meeting is to listen to a lot of different ideas and different opinions and proposals and suggestions. Because out of this process of everybody putting forth their own views and opinions, we should hopefully be able to come up with the best option, the best decision from that process. So we want to make sure that in our meeting there is this open exchange and everyone seems to feel comfortable to put their ideas out there, have others comment on those ideas, add more ideas to it, until finally we can come up with the best solution. The next one is, make sure that everyone has a chance to express their view. This is a common problem in meetings where maybe someone is really quiet. Maybe others are openly expressing their ideas, but one or two are not. Or maybe there's just one person in the meeting who's not saying anything, not really contributing much to the discussion. Maybe they're afraid, maybe they feel uncomfortable, maybe they're shy. Now, as a chair for a meeting, if you're a good chair, you would obviously notice if someone were quiet or not saying much, and you would invite them to give their ideas, or you would invite them to express their views and give them the opportunity and the chance to speak. But even if you're not a chair, if you notice someone is really quiet, you can also bring that up. You can say, well, we haven't heard anything from Mary, or we haven't heard anything from John. Well, why don't we listen to what they have to say? You know, Mary, would you like to contribute? Or John, what are your thoughts on this? So just invite them to join the discussion. But it's really important that you don't just have someone just sitting in the meeting, not talking and not speaking. Very important to make sure that everyone has this opportunity to express their views. And if they agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. At least they put their views out there. That's going to be really important. The next one is, did the discussions stay on track? As I mentioned earlier, in terms of managing time, one of the biggest problems we see with meetings in terms of managing time is that if the discussions are not on track, a lot of time is wasted. So you want to make sure that discussions do stay on track. Obviously, there are a lot of directions that debate, discussion can go in, but you need to stay focused. Again, the chair should be in control of this, but it's perfectly acceptable as a participant in the meeting to acknowledge when the discussion is off track or when we need to refocus to what our original objective or our original issue was. So it's perfectly okay to do this, but if you're noticing discussions are off track frequently in your meetings, this might be something to address with your supervisor or the members of your meeting before you start to make sure that everyone stays focused. The next one is, whatever decisions were made in that meeting, are they clear to you? Were all the final decisions very clear and you've confirmed them and you know exactly what was decided and there's no question, there's no doubt left in your mind? This is really important. It's really not a good idea to walk away from a meeting and still have this doubt about, well, what exactly did we decide to do? Or I'm not real sure what our final decision was, or I'm still not clear on certain points. So again, it's very important that you ask yourself, was the final decision or decisions made in that meeting clear to me? And the next one is, were all my questions answered? So if you have any remaining questions about what was discussed in the meeting, you don't want to walk away from the meeting with those questions in your head. It's better to address them right then and there at the meeting in front of everyone else. A lot of people will wait till the meeting finishes and then they'll go up to one other member or maybe the chair of the meeting and they'll ask them, hey, I have a question about this, and they'll try to get the answer. The problem with that is that if you have a question about something or something is not clear to you, there's a good chance that other members and other participants in that meeting might have the same question. So it's actually a better idea if you go, rather than going to someone after the meeting, take the opportunity during the meeting to go ahead and put your questions out there and make sure that they're answered clearly before the meeting actually ends. Remember, it's not a bad thing to have questions. Questions are good. Questions show that you want to make sure you have all the accurate and correct information. So don't wait till the meeting is over to ask someone individually if you have questions. Take the time to ask during the meeting so that everyone can benefit both from your question and the answer to the question as well. And finally, this is vitally important. What exactly is your task or duty? So as this meeting has finished, what is now my responsibility? What have I been asked to do? Is that clear to me? Do I know exactly what that is? Do I have any doubts, any questions about what I need to accomplish, what I need to do, what I've been asked to do from that particular meeting? Do I have questions about deadlines? When do I have to have this finished? When I do finish this, who am I going to show it to? Who am I going to take it to? Am I bringing it to the next meeting? Right? So again, these are important questions that you need to think about, especially if you've been given a task, if you've been given a duty or something that you have to complete as a result of having that meeting. So make sure that that, again, is very clear to you. So in this last lecture, we looked at ways we can evaluate whether we've had an effective meeting. And so we talked about things like making sure that we're managing our time appropriately. We talked about having a friendly and encouraging environment. We want to make sure that the discussions are staying on track. Everyone has an opportunity to express their views. There's an open exchange of ideas going on. We know what the final decisions were made. We're very clear about what those are. If we have questions, we don't walk away from the meeting with questions. We want to address questions right then and there. Because if questions are not being answered in your meeting, then maybe the discussions again are not going well. So that's another thing to consider. And also, do you have a clear understanding of any tasks or jobs or duties you have to carry out from that meeting? So these are all things to look at the end of your meeting to evaluate whether it was a good one or not. And again, if you notice that there are problems in these areas, it might be a good idea to address them either with your supervisor or with the members of your meeting team so that you can improve the overall quality and efficiency of your meetings in the future. Thank you again. This is our final lesson for meetings. Thank you, and that's all for today.